Hello, welcome to another edition of Philosophy with John Vance. Where today I'm going to talk about moralists. So, moralists are people who operate within a framework of logic, and they don't. And once you go outside that, they start to um, limit that debate in that framework. So, what moralists do is that they have this idea, and this can tie into a little bit of sophistry too. They have this idea that, uh, my rationale and well, not necessarily. If I disagree with one rationale? I mean, if my rationale says this, then this must be true. This is the way that it has to be. I'll put an example out. So say that with the recent current events with Trump, so with people saying, oh, they're rejecting people at the border because of certain political views or whatever, right? So therefore, this must be racism if they are rejecting people at the border. Well, first of all, rejecting people at the border is a much broader issue. Um, it, there's plenty of reasons why people don't want reject people at the border all the time, and isn't necessarily tied to race or tied to political views. I mean, that's one aspect, and that could the race could be tied to an ideology, and that and usually people get rejected for what they believe in as opposed to what they look like. Um, I mean, the media wants you to frame it as that is the only thing why people get rejected is it's just that, and then it goes into um, ID politics, and and then that's why it has nothing to do with all of the other reasons why, like you don't want people there overstaying, and then the government can't account for it, or it has nothing to do with that. It's just all about that. If you get rejected, it's that, right? But if you give them another viewpoint of saying, well, um, I get rejected for this such and such reason, then then their logic is, it's almost like you're smashing that perception pretty much. And I mean, there is an element of truth to that, but at the same time, it's not the be all end all of how the world works. Um, so what a moralist will do, they'll cling to that, and they'll say, well, how could you say how could you ignore this? Like how, like they twist it, right? So they twist it and say, how could you ignore this? Are you a racist? Are you a bigot? And they'll turn it on you, right? And that's part of sophistry too. But the moralists, they'll turn it on you because that's their only viewpoint. That's how the board. If you go outside their viewpoint, they can't. Well, what do you mean? Um, that's the objective world. What do you mean? That can't be. Like, what are you doing, right? And so they'll view you as, they'll turn on you and they'll view you as evil, and you need to be corrected, right? You need to be corrected into this, right? Um, and that's the problem with, well, I'll go down that road, go down that train of thought, I guess. Objective moralism, gets talked about a lot, is that people are not all exactly the same, right? And they're taught at different cultures, um, and and the different times that they lived in, and different types of behavior is accepted in one area as opposed to another. And then this can be empirically proven all the time. Like what is acceptable behavior in Canada may be different in Sudan, right? And that's due to different material conditions and stuff like that. So you can't really have that objective moralist view is a logical fallacy in of itself because it can empirically be disproven. It is not just that, right? And and if you are not willing to consider it and turn, what they'll do is they'll not consider it, but they'll also view you as like some sort of evil conspiracy theorist. Sorry, and they will turn it against you. Um, and then that's how people operate, and it's very important to know these things um, in depth. Um, because you don't. It's very. It's how it's. There's a material element to it. Like there's always how we perceive the world and how um, we we interact with it is very important, and this is very important to know. Is that people will do that, and then if you go outside them, they will turn against you and they'll try to manipulate you, not necessarily give you any empirical facts, and then they'll try to discredit you and all that stuff. And this is very important. This happens a lot. It's a psychological tick. I'd say happens a lot with the general population. Um, so you have to be aware of that when you're talking to somebody. Um, oh, well, let's see. I don't know what else I could talk on. I mean, 7 minutes, that's pretty good. Um, oh yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna put some Marx works on there too. Mine's really up to that today. Let's see, Marx. Well, he goes into perception, all that stuff. So that's very important. Um, a lot of the scientists too um, will a lot of the okay the a lot of the intellectuals will say that it's a materialist world. You need the best absolute credible thing ever to imagine to prove your viewpoint. Though, and this is, I guess, another tactic too. I noticed from moralists is that they will give you like these really high expectations of proving your point, and they um, I'm not viewing them as immoral people. I'm just objectively trying to analyze their thought processes and how their psyche works. Um, they will give you really ridiculous standards of like it has to be so perfect. It has to be the best thing ever. They'll go into like absolutes, right? So